Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Gemini Rising. My name is Natalie Sadie, and I am joined by my co-host, Anne Wilkie. And today's guest is someone that I am so excited to have on the program because she is so much fun and has so much that she is going to share with us. Psychic medium and manifestation coach, Season Vega. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm super excited to do this and be here with you guys.
So I'm just going to dive right into all of this. I first discovered you on TikTok a few years ago, and I booked in for a reading. And, you know, I've had a lot of readings over my lifetime. I'm 45 at this point. And so I've learned that sometimes you have expectations of a reading and they're okay. Sometimes they're super generic and other times they're just amazing. Your reading, the first reading that we had, just blew my mind, and there was so much information flying at me. And so I guess where I'm curious to start is, how do you see things? How do you get the information? And how did you first figure it all out?
So that's so much. Like, it's so hard to explain in like an easy way. So I'll start with like, how do I get the information and like what I do? So every time I have a reading, what ends up happening is that I will do a little ritual, which I used to have to take a long time to do, just because when I first started, I wanted things to be perfect. I needed things to be perfect. And I was always so nervous that I was just like, okay, I got to do this. I'm showing up for somebody. I'm going to give them the best thing that they could ever possibly have. Now my cat's trying to get into this. No, ma'am. So I used to do this ritual and it used to take me about 15 minutes. And then it started to dwindle down the more and more I got to the point that I had a better language with spirit. I had better boundaries with spirit. I started understanding what they were actually doing to my body when they were communicating or when they would talk or when they would, however they needed to communicate. Because I never put any boundaries on them in that sense of like, just communicate with me however you need to. So it started dwindling down to the point that now when I'm getting ready to do a reading, my body has such a muscle memory that I just go into flow state. But I always look at my schedule the day of. Like, I don't ever look ahead. I don't ever, because if I do that, then I'm starting to tap into people on accident. So I look at the schedule the day of and I read my first reading and I read your name. And the moment I read your name, I'm connected to your soul. And then I give permission, whether or not we're doing a psychic reading, whether or not we're doing a combo reading, a mediumistic reading, I give permission to your spirit guides, to your soul, to your loved ones. You can come in now if you want to, even if I'm not talking to them right away. Like, you could tell me what you want to tell me. You can tell me what we need to talk about. You could sometimes they just don't say anything. They're just like, no, we're just here. Don't worry about it. Like, we'll just be here. But sometimes I get so much information before that I'm sitting there and I'm writing things down, or I get a sense of it. So and then by the time I'm talking to you, I've learned over the years that when I would, because you literally just said it, like, there's so much shit that flies at you in a reading with me that right when I start to talk to you, I will literally just start and I will just start flowing and I'll start spitting things. And then I forget, like, oh, hold on, stop for a second, Season, and ask, hey, are you okay? Hey, do you have any questions? You good? Because like your guides and your loved ones, they just immediately go in and they're just like, here. Because they're like, we got an hour and we're getting this shit done. But it's funny because over the years, I've learned that, okay, you got to give the client an opportunity to say what they want to do, because some people were just like, whoa, this is a lot, like, holy shit. And then they're like, okay, hold on. So I have now learned that, in a reading, I'm like, hey, this is what I do, how I do things. Like, what are some of your goals? And I always tell people, you can be specific, you can be generic. It doesn't fucking matter to me, because like literally your guides and stuff and your loved ones are already ready to say something. But like, if you have specific things to say, tell me, so then I can address those things if they don't, which they usually always do. But that's how I tap in, and that's how I get so much information. But it's so fast. It is so fast. And like within an instant, I know all this stuff about this person, and I know what their guides are saying, and I know what they're needing to hear. And it's kind of crazy because sometimes people, like right when, when Natalie, this, like right when you talk to me, there's going to be a lot that comes through and they're like, okay, I need to marinate on this for a little bit. And then sometimes your spirit guides jump so far ahead of where you're even at right now that sometimes information's like, that doesn't make sense right now. Like, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Like, it's going to make sense. You just fucking hold on because it will. Yeah, I know it doesn't make sense right now, but just don't fucking worry about it. But it's something that happens so fast now where before, it's not that I had to work for it. It was more of like, I was nervous because like you're building a relationship with spirit and, this whole hierarchy of these beings of just, loved ones, they're higher a vibration than us. Our spirit guides are higher vibration than us. And you're just like this little human. And you're like, yeah, just pile all that energy in me. So it was just like, it was a really interesting road to go down. And to answer your other question of like, when did I know to do this or however you asked it? I've always known I had gifts, but I didn't know what they were. So I would always see my grandpa who passed away before me. I would know weird shit about people that I shouldn't know. Like they never told me, but I just knew. And my mom was always spiritual. Like my mom was always somebody who was very, very connected. And she's really connected to Native American culture. And growing up, I knew that my great-great-grandfather, it's either my great-great or my great-great-great, whatever. I think it's my great-great-grandfather. He actually saved Geronimo's daughter. And Geronimo blessed our family. So when my mom has been super connected to that, she's just like, I think it's just the heritage of, like either past lives, but Geronimo blessed our family and all the things like that. But she's always made it normal. Like spirits were normal and, seeing dead people was normal and knowing things like that is normal. So I always had that. But I also grew up in a very tight community in the mountains and we had a small church and I thought it was normal, guys. Like I just thought it was totally normal. So I talked about it. So I thought everybody fucking did it. Like, oh, you see dead people too? That's cool. Like, no, okay. But the
So your
church
was a spiritual sort of church?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
So the church actually caught on to what I was saying because people were like, this girl's fucking weird. Like she's talking about weird so they actually pulled me in without my mom knowing and they tried to perform an exorcism on me.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I was young. Like I honestly think I was like 6. That was terrifying. So I tried to ignore my gifts, but I never could. I never could. And then over the years, like my mom was still very open about it and all the things, but over the years, like I just had these weird things. Like I can't sleep in silence. I can't. Like you cannot put me in silence. I have to have a TV going. I have to have a fan going because people just whisper in my ear. And then I would just, again, know things about people that I shouldn't. And I thought I was like, wow, you're crazy. You have a really crazy imagination. Like I walked into the grocery store with my mom one time and I looked at this couple and I was like, oh my God, he's cheating on her with her sister. I was like, Season, what is wrong with you? Like, no, like you need to stop watching TV or something. But it was just me getting a download. And then in my early 20s, I went through a really dark time and my mom had just gotten a reading by somebody. And she's like, it's a really fucking weird way of getting a reading, but like, what do you got to lose? And I went and it was amazing. And I've never seen anybody do readings like her before. And even still to this day, have no idea anybody else that does readings like her. And she looked at me and it was great. And then she looked at me at the end and she's like, oh, you're a psychic medium. And I was like, oh, you're fucking crazy. Like, this was great up until just now. Like, no, I'm not. And then it just opened. And then my wife, who at the time was my girlfriend, I had just kind of gotten into this whole like, okay, this is real because there's this man that keeps flinging my door open at nighttime and standing over me and he's not alive and I can see him. And, she and I got together and I was like, how the fuck do you tell somebody to like, you talk to dead people? Like, how do you do that? So we were just sitting there and I told her and she's like, okay, prove it. So I actually connected with one of her grandpas and I was like, he's in the bathroom. And then there was 3 knocks. And she got so freaked out that she ran up the stairs and was like, nope, fuck this. Nope. But then after she settled down, she was like, she looked at me, she's like, you realize how many people you could help? And I was like, no, I haven't even gotten to that point yet. Like, I'm still don't even know what I'm doing. And she's like, well, I'm going to get your readings. So she's actually the one that threw me into it and was like, no, you're helping people because this is incredible. So because of her, I'm here today with the developed gifts that I have because, you know, I had that strong foundation with my mom. And then my wife was like, yeah, you can't keep this shit to yourself. You gotta fly birdie fly into the world. And it was terrifying, I'll tell you that. But I'm super grateful for it. But yeah, that's just like a little, you know, a little thing of how I do stuff and everything that came through. But yeah.
Wow. I just have a question that I've asked other people about this as well. Do you think everybody has the ability to develop these gifts? If so, how? Or if not, you know, I don't know. I guess that people can all have different gifts. But what do you think about that?
1,000%. Everybody has gifts. Everybody has gifts. And there's such a weird gatekeeping thing with this community of like, well, I'm a medium and nobody else can do that. And if you're a medium, like you're high. No, that's bullshit. It's total bullshit. Like we are all literal spiritual beings. Like, how are you going to tell me that you and I, where we come from is the same, but we can't do the same communication? It's just what I have learned is where are you at on your spiritual journey on earth? And are you actually open to those gifts? Do you want to know what those gifts are? And everybody's gifts are different. Like the way I tap into people, like I literally astral project my soul to be with your soul. My guides are talking to your guides. I'm getting downloads. Like I'm in your literal realm of energy. But then there's people that, you know, and if I look at somebody, I'm constantly downloaded with stuff. But there's other people that, you know, they need you to say your name 3 times, or there's people that, you know, like they need oracle cards, tarot cards, but like everybody has these gifts. And then the medium side too, that's where I see a lot of the gatekeeping in this whole community is like, oh yeah, everyone's psychic, but not everyone's a medium. No, that's bullshit too. Like you can open yourself up to being able to connect with your loved ones, even if it's just for your loved ones and not for somebody else's loved ones. You have the abilities to do that. It's just, where are you at in your spiritual journey? Whether you, oh my goodness gracious. She loves, honest to goodness, like my cats, every time I do something like this, they have to be right here.
We're happy to have them.
Yeah.
She wants to be on the keyboard. So she'll hang up on people. So she's not allowed to do that. So, but the medium side is like, you can open yourself up to connect with people that have passed away. It's just, again, where are you at with your spiritual journey? Do you want to do that? Are you scared of it? And if you're scared of it, then maybe that's your spiritual journey to like dive into figuring out why you're scared of the spiritual side of things. Like, but no, everybody can do this. Everybody has gifts. And then, you know, with me having them, it's interesting because people have asked me like, well, how did you develop them? And again, like how my wife just threw me into this shit. I had no other choice. But also like they're so normal to me that I don't know how else to live. Like I don't, and the voices never stop. The downloads never stop. Like if they did, I'd probably panic. Like I'm completely opposite. Like I need the voices to continue, please. Because if I don't have them, I'm either in trouble with my spirit guides or like something's wrong. But like with me having them so normal, then where I have been told with my guides, it's because I've developed this over many lifetimes to the point that now I'm at the point where it is just easy and normal. But then there's somebody who's just starting their journey who it might not be as easy, but everybody has gifts. Everybody does. And I hate that gatekeeping shit. It's so annoying. It pisses me off.
I just have to ask one little follow-up.
Yeah.
Are there places where you get more downloads or hear more voices besides your bed at night when you're trying to sleep?
Well, we have boundaries now. We have boundaries now with that because like I love my sleep. I do.
Yeah.
And if it's incredibly important, which there has been, like I have good friends that, you know, and family that I tell their guides, or I even tell clients, you know, like their spirit guides and stuff, if you truly need me, you can wake me up. That's fine. But if you don't, leave me the fuck alone. But with the whole like more download thing, it's really bad when I go to like malls or restaurants because there's this point where I'm trying to focus, like if my family is out and we're eating, I'm trying to focus on like the human side of things, being like, oh yeah, like how was your day? Like blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden I get this like whoosh of energy to the point that I feel like I'm going to pass out. I feel like there's this heaviness. I feel like I can't hear anybody that's in front of me. I can only hear this like wah, wah, wah in my ears. And I used to think it was panic attacks because that sounds just like a fucking panic attack. But then when I started actually being like, I'm not wanting to talk to anybody right now. Like I have nobody that I want to talk to, like leave me alone. It goes away. So it's just when there's a lot of people around me, it's just, I get so many downloads and I get so many things. And it's just, that's when it's a lot. It's a lot. But then also too, when I'm alone, that's like the best time too. Cause then they're just like, hey, so you're not busy. We're going to talk to you. My guides do that too. Like when I'm working out, like when I'm lifting, it's so funny. They're like, so I know you're about to do this, but hey, you should probably text this person and let them know this. And I'm like, can I do what I'm doing first? They're like, no,
Oh, wow.
you can't. So yeah.
You're obviously clairaudient. Do you see things like, what are the clairs that you have?
I have all of them. I allow all of them. And that's the thing too, is that everybody has all the clairs as well. It's just sometimes we pick one that works better for us. And that's when I mentor people too, we try to figure out what clair is their like most dominant one, so we can really develop that with that person. But at the same time, like everybody has all of them. It's just whether or not you want to use them. Because I have one lady who I've been mentoring for a really long time. She says, fuck no to clairaudient. She's like, nope. If I hear somebody, I'm no. I'm like, that's fine. That's a boundary that you can have a spirit and they don't have to talk to you that way because you have all these other things. But the big ones that usually my guides and everybody uses is the, oh my gosh, now that I'm going to say it, I don't know what the fuck it's called. It's the one that I just know shit. Like I don't know how claircognizance. Thank you. I just know shit. Like I'll just look at you and I'll be like, okie dokie. And then the one that they use, like not the least, but the one that they kind of use the last bit of is when I get to see things. But I always am seeing things through my third eye. But when I'm ignoring it, they make me actually see it with my eyes. And then that can be kind of freaky sometimes because I'm like, nope, I didn't want to see that because I've watched too many scary movies, you guys. Like I don't want to see shit like that. But yeah, so it's definitely something that we all have all of them, but it's more claircognizance is what they really like to use with me, which I'm totally fine with. But then it's funny because then people are like, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I just do. Just go with it. It makes sense. I promise you.
Claircognizance is a funny thing because I always say that's my strongest sense as well. And as a kid, I would do things and tell people things. And my mum, she never discouraged anything. And Anne and I have talked on previous episodes about how I was very lucky that my mum exposed me to a whole range of spiritual people. So we learned to meditate as kids, and we had psychics and mediums and different people coming into the house. So we were always able to have those conversations. But I would just drop certain bits of information and my mum wouldn't say things, but then she would come back later and go, how did you know that?
I just did.
Yeah. And at times it's like I've got Tourette's because I'm saying things and everyone's telling me I'm wrong. And the Tourette's almost comes out because it's like, I know I'm not wrong. You're not listening to me. And I know this is right. And then you find out after the fact that it was spot on. It was just people weren't ready to accept it, say it publicly, whatever it may be. I find it kind of fun once you learn to trust that as opposed to being told that you're wrong all the time.
Yeah.
Like, no, I know when I have this feeling and when my entire body is going, this is what it is. That's how
like you can't argue. Like it's fine. Like people do. And I find it so fun when people argue. They're like, no. I'm like, oh, okay, well, text me in a couple days and we'll be having a different conversation. But I love it. I love because that's exactly how it feels. Like how you just described it is exactly how you just know. And then you're like, I fucking know. Don't argue with me.
I've done it to people the night before they conceived. I've walked in and gone, congratulations. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you're pregnant. And they're like, I'm not pregnant. I'm not pregnant. I'm not pregnant. What do you know? The next day they conceive. And then 3 months later, they're like, we're pregnant.
Like,
No
oh, were you? Because I'm pretty sure I told you.
Natalie, you could probably make pretty good money on that. They don't,
Yeah.
you know, Natalie's the ovulation psychic.
Yeah. But fun fact, I cannot tell you what sex anybody is having. If I pick a sex of that child, you can be guaranteed it's the other. It's the opposite. It's just
picking it.
That's fair.
Absolutely not. So Anne, do you have a question? Mine was in my head and then it flew away. So
oh, I do have a question.
Great.
So as you described your reading process, here's what I'd like to know. How do you, I know you can speak fast and you can deliver a lot of information quickly, but how do you decide what's the first thing? How do they come through with the most important information? Or is the most important information just sort of like, I love you? Like, what is it that they really want us to know?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question because like I said, it's so fast and it's so instantaneous. And then I just know everything all of a sudden. But what's funny is, and a lot of my clients can literally be like, oh yeah, she does that. I'll be like, okay, hold on really fast. We're going to figure out where we're going to start. And I ask their loved ones or their spirit guides, like, where do you want to start? And they usually just pick a subject because that subject ties into everything else. Even if it doesn't seem like it's a cohesive thing, like we could be talking about your career and somehow that is tied to your love life or your ex or, you know, like why you're not having, you know, these huge epiphanies with manifestation or, you know, it's really interesting because before I would give, you know, your guides or your loved ones permission to be like, well, where do you guys want to start? You know, I would just start spouting shit off. Like I would just pick something and be like, hey, what does this mean? And they'd be like, well, this is what it means. Like, this is actually what's happening. But I give their guides now the permission to be like, where do you want to start? Because your guides are specifically for you and your loved ones are your loved ones. So they know better than I do of where, like, they've watched you this whole time. So where should we start? Should we start with the most important thing? Should we start with the medium thing? Or should we start with like the really, really, really big stuff? So it's kind of cool because I just give them the whole thing of just being like, you tell me. And then we just start. And then it just goes off. And then I just start babbling off. And then it's just off to the races. And I do always I have to tell people too, like, I talk a lot when I'm in flow state and I talk fast. And if I always tell people, like, if you need to tell me to shut up for a second and ask a question, like, you have full permission to do that. Cause I could pick up right where I left off. Cause it's like spirit is this cassette tape that's like going, pause. And then we just go. Like we press play. So yeah, it's just really up to them of what we're wanting to talk about first.
Do you remember the messages that you deliver after the fact?
No. And that's the thing. I have this set up with my spirit guides. And I did this for a reason because the lady who first gave me the reading, and she told me that I was a psychic medium, I went to her a lot because one, she was the closest thing I have ever had to a mentor, because one of my mentors that I tried to have, I went into the mentorship stronger in my abilities than she was. And she actually, she degraded me. She got it to where I stopped doing readings for a year. Like, she made me question myself. Like, it was horrible. But like with Paula, the lady who is the first lady, she tried to help me as much as she could. But then I got to this point that I was like, she knows me too well. And it wasn't a bad thing. I wasn't mad about it whatsoever. I'd rather have a connection with somebody like that could know me, that could look at me and be like, Season, you're being stupid, or like, Season, what are you doing? You know, like, I know you're better than this type of thing. But when it came to the gift development, it was more that she just knew what I could do. And then we would just kind of like go in this loop. And it wasn't anything new. Like she wasn't giving me a lot of new stuff, which was totally fine too, because she's never mentored anybody in her life. And then here I am. And I'm like, you better fucking help me because you're the one that opened this door. And she was like, absolutely. So and it's interesting because now everyone's talking to me, but anyways, I'm sorry. So with that, it's just, I don't know. Okay, everyone's like literally talking to me and they're telling me all these things. I'm so sorry.
What are they saying? What are they saying?
They're literally just telling me, they were like, oh, and then when this happened, and when this happened, this download happened, and then you need to actually be doing this. And like, they're actually telling me all these things that I need to start doing because I accidentally opened Pandora's box of, hey, actually, these are the things that you should be doing. I'm getting yelled at is what I should just say. I'm just getting yelled at.
But
Yeah.
it's probably something other people need to know if they're developing their psychic gifts, right? So
huge thing.
Definitely share it.
Yeah. Huge thing is always go back to the basics. Always go back to, and that's what my spirit guides are saying. Go back to the basics, go back to the basics. Because when I'm sitting here talking about Paula and doing what she, taught me how to do, it's interesting because they stopped me from answering your question really fast. And my guides were like, actually, do you remember these like foundational things that you had to build to get to where you're at? You need to go back to that. Always, always go back to the basics. And it's, even in my journey, I've been like, oh no, I'm way more developed than that. I don't need to go back to the basics. No, that's bullshit. So my guides are just yelling at me, telling me that I have to go back to the basics. It's fine. It's fine. But the question that you had asked me now, but going with like literally having it to where Paula got to know me, I made a deal with my spirit guides that I want to remember the person, but I don't want to remember what we said in the reading because I want every single reading to be like it's brand new. And I actually have a client who's become one of my really good friends that we have a friendship, but we also have a client relationship that I talk to her every Monday. And it's something new every Monday that I'm giving her, even if we're doubling back on a situation. We're having something new that her guides are like, okay, we have to go back here, but also do this now that's new. And it's cool because she's actually a manifestation coach as well. And it's interesting because even though I talk to her every Monday, everything is always new. Everything is always different. So no, I don't like to remember what I say in a reading because then I just feel like it gets kind of diluted. And I just want it to be brand new. I do, though, just like I remember the person, once I connect with that person, if I talk to their loved ones, I remember their loved ones because they have an energy fingerprint that I remember. And I'm like, oh, hey, I remember you. Like, this is fun. So, but I don't remember what I say in a reading. So, and also, I'm talking too fast.
The reason I ask that is because when I do my oracle card readings, I never remember what was said afterwards. Anne helps me with a lot of those readings. And then she always gets my insecure message straight after saying, was that terrible? Because I always think that I did a terrible job because I don't remember. I think it was just word salad. Yeah. But there are moments where I remember themes. Sometimes I don't remember whatever it was until the next week when I'm doing another one and I realize there's a repetitive theme that's going on. But you on your TikToks and on your social media, you'll talk about these mind-blowing moments, lessons that the other side sort of gave you or gave the person who was having the reading. So I'm curious, did those moments stick out because they're things that you are meant to share because it will help more people? Is it just fragments that you get?
So yes to all of that. So the things that I share on social media, a lot of times, like, and I say this into my videos too, like my guides literally set me up with the perfect people because I have to listen to what their guides are saying to them because I'm supposed to be hearing that as well. So the fragment part, absolutely. Like if you ask me like what else happened in the reading, I'd be like, I talked. They talked. It's great. We left. We're still talking. It's fantastic. But if I were to if you were to ask me specifics, it would be really hard for me to tell you. But those pieces stick out so vividly to me because I needed to hear that. And there's been a couple of times that I have had readings line up with my last week readings that I actually have to double back to my last week readings and be like, listen, I just got this other download from another reading and you need to hear this too. So it's just what's really important that my guides are like, share this with everybody or share this with this person or just keep it to yourself. Because when I do those videos too, and this is something I tell people, I'm the biggest skeptic in the entire world. Like you have to prove it for me to believe it. And it's not in a sense of being like, prove it. Has nothing to do with that. It's just more of like, I want that authenticity to come out of somebody. And I want the authenticity of like, what do I need to know? Like, if I need to be yelled at, yell at me. If I need to be told like, you're being an idiot, tell me, like, do this. But like, I'm the biggest skeptic. And so when I get downloaded with something that is like a task, like, or, you know, like a task of manifestation from somebody else's spirit guides, because, you know, that person had to hear it. I'm going to try and utilize it in my personal life to make sure that it's really in alignment and a lot of people can benefit from it. So then that's when you hear me in my videos be like, I just did this lady's psychic reading last week, or I hear from that person and they're like, holy shit, like you were right. Like, thank you. Thank you. I was just the vessel. They were right. But thank you for giving me the credit. But, you know, it's something that when I share it, I know people need to hear it. And then there's also times too that I'm just sitting here and then all of a sudden my guides are like, go make a TikTok. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea what I'm about to do. And then I sit in my truck because that's apparently my staple is I sit in my truck and I put my video on and then I'm downloaded with what I'm supposed to say. And then I just say it. I literally make the video, I press it, and then I post and ghost. Like I told you guys, I'm a poster and a ghoster. I will be there, and then I will not be there. And then I have no fucking idea when I'm coming back. But I feel bad because a lot of my followers are like, where have you been? We need you. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I forget until I get told. But yeah, it's fragments, like you said. And then it's what is in alignment with me as well that I'm having to hear. But I never put out information before I make sure that it really is in alignment. And it's not just in alignment for me. Like there's some things that I have to do that I've learned in a reading that literally just, it was me. I needed it, or my wife needed it, or, you know, one of our friends needed it. So it's fragments and all the things, but no, I don't remember everything in a reading. Which
So
hopefully doesn't offend anybody because it's not the fact that I forget you. I just forget the reading. Like because I just want it to be fresh.
So that way people know if something very sensitive or intimate comes through, you're not going to, you know, remember it next time you see them and be judging them in the grocery store. Right? They're not going to be, yeah.
Well, I have been in some very interesting situations in the beginning, and there's a couple of readings that I was just like, holy shit, my guides really put me in a situation here. But I have no judgment bone in my body, like at all, because this journey has taught me so much about the 3D is just bullshit. And it's just what is the societal way is just because it's just been built that way. But spiritually, like we're supposed to go against a lot of it because it's not truly in alignment with what your soul is wanting. So there's so many people like, they'll be like, yeah, I'm really scared. Like, why? And they'll tell me like, well, I just don't know what you're going to see. And then I'll be like, oh, it's because I see this, 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 and this. And they're like, well, fuck yeah, that's what I was scared you were going to see. And I'm like, oh, it's fine. I don't care. It's fine. Let's talk about it. What's going on? So, but yeah, it is. It's very much so that like after the reading, because I have other readings that by the time I'm on to the next one or the third one that day, you know, that reading, they can rest assured that I'm not out here being like, oh, I remember that. No, nope.
Oh, it's you're back.
Yeah. Oh, what's going on? Let's judge that. No, never.
But
not ever. And I've heard it all.
It seems like through the process of doing the readings, that must have been how the manifestation coaching emerged, right? Because you hear where people's focus is maybe not where it needs to be for what they want, right?
Yeah, and it was a personal thing that I actually had. I honestly have had the worst money stories my entire life. Worst. And I guess that's bullshit for me because apparently I'm walking around and I'm an 8. like in the numerology world. And apparently I was supposed to be like rich as shit. And back then I was like, this is not in alignment with me because I'm not. Like, what is happening? But it was a personal thing actually. And it was crazy because, you know, even you guys, like when you pull people into your space, they're going to be in alignment with the vibration that you're putting out. So they might have the same stories, they might have the same experiences, they might have the same, you know, lessons that they're learning. And, you know, when I got into the manifestation thing, which is actually really funny, and I just made this connection, Paula, the lady who gave me my first reading, is actually the woman who she came out to my house one time and we were just talking, we were just hanging out, and she handed me the CDs of The Secret. And she goes, I don't know why, but I feel really, really drawn to give you this. And I was like, all right. Like, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I was like, what the fuck is this? The Secret? Like, is this going to be like a romance novel? Like, I have no idea what I'm getting into. Like, what is this, Paula? Like, she didn't tell me. And, you know, it was interesting because I had just told my guides, like, I have to do something different because I can't keep fucking living this way. And then a lot of my clients, they were coming to me and I could give them such sound advice from their guides of what they needed to do. And then before, you know, like the reading would end, like I would be looking at my guides, like, where the fuck is my advice? Like, why are you not telling me how to get out of these stories? Or, you know, at the time I didn't call them stories. I just was like, why am I poor? Like, why am I broke? Like, what is going on? You know, wanting them to give me the lotto numbers, which would have been really convenient, but they didn't. So then Paula gave me that. And I was actually driving to Wyoming the next day to go do readings. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to pop this into my CD player and see what this is. I was so mind blown. And I was pissed, actually. I was mind blown and pissed all at the same time because I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me that I created this shit myself. And I remember when one of the people on The Secret was like, your life and everything that has happened, good or bad from a certain place, it's your fault. And the first thing that popped in my head was like, I didn't want to get in that fucking car accident. And then I was like, oh my God, I didn't want to get in the car accident, but I wanted an extra $7,000. Oh shit. And then I started realizing and unwinding these things that had happened in my life. And I was like, oh my God, it is my fault because I think that way. Oh my God, it is. But it also was such an inspiring moment to be like, okay, I could be pissed off that I've been doing this to myself, but like now I can control this. I can do this. I can actually make my reality. And then I swan dove into all this manifestation and just learning everything I could about it and listening to people and asking questions. And, you know, cause there was a part in The Secret that really just didn't sit with me. Right. Like, oh, if you just think and feel, it just comes. Like, okay, but every time I think and feel it, I want some fucking money. All of a sudden I'm getting bills. So like, where is this disconnect that's happening? And that's where my guides, like over the past, like I want to say 6+ years, they've made me learn so much, into the point of like the universal laws and how they actually are implementing each other, and that the law of attraction really isn't even the first law that you need to be worried about, and all these other laws. And oh, here's the law of polarity, and that's why you actually got the bills instead of the money first, because you're being shown like, you know, this, that, and the third. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey. But then as I started speaking about it more, and people, and it's kind of funny because how we were talking, Natalie, of how like Anne just knows how to do stuff. And then my girl, Benel, who's that amazing, luxurious fucking event planner, can build a website too. And she's like, oh, it's easy. Like, to who? You know, I started learning about manifestation. And I'm like, oh, well, everybody knows this. Like, everybody probably knows this. And then when I started speaking about it, people were like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, people don't know about this. So then I started learning more and more and more, because all the questions I had, everyone else had. And then it just developed into me being a manifestation coach. And then it's just taken off, because the thing is that we're always manifesting. And whether or not you want it to be good or bad, that's your choice. Like, it's totally your choice. But also watch those laws, because they're a pain in the ass.
Do you think for a lot of people, sorry, Anne, they hear about things like The Secret and go, okay, I'm just going to think and feel, and that's it. And then they don't go any further. And I do think that you're right when you say to think about the fact that I'm responsible for everything I've created in my life, because I came to that conclusion. It wasn't through The Secret. It was through some therapy I was doing. And the first time I was told that, I told the woman who had told me this to go fuck herself, and I stormed out. And it took me a week to ponder that whole thought and then to call her and apologize and say, I really need your help. And it was one of the most confronting things in my life. And yet it was the most freeing thing in my life, because as you said, to realize you can control what's coming. But I think it also releases a lot of anger and guilt and things from the past, because you start to understand and look at why you made decisions that you did and to move forward. But I find, and I'm curious if you find this in teaching manifestation and talking to people just about this in general, even if they're not one of your students, but that people are often resistant to, one, facing things about themselves, but two, to actually do the deeper work. You know, to watch The Secret or to read The Secret, you go, okay, I'm going to think and feel, and then I'm good. And when it doesn't happen, and when it doesn't happen quickly, they then give up.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, there's been so many times that I've talked to people, and I've actually had people book psychic readings with me, because that's like, if anybody ever wants to talk about manifestation, I don't have like a manifestation reading. I'm just like, book a psychic reading, because like your guides are going to come through anyways. I've had people actually just book to argue with me. And they're like, I want to challenge you. I'm like, fucking A, let's do this. I love these. Let's challenge me. What's going on? And they're like, I want to challenge you on this manifestation stuff. I want to know why this would happen. And sometimes people actually have come to me being like, well, if there is a God, why would they want me to suffer? And it's like, here's the thing, is that God, source, you know, Morgan Freeman, whoever the fuck is up there, they don't want you to suffer. You're making yourself suffer, because you have that mentality. And then it's just been fun to have that unwinding. But people have like, and people have even told me too, like, I came across the TikTok of yours and you were talking about manifestation, and, you know, like, I gave up because I was just attracting the negative stuff. Like, here I am thinking, feeling, and writing my grateful list every day, but I'm still getting all the bullshit that I was getting before. So what's wrong? And the thing that people don't understand is that your subconscious and the universe, they are so black and white. They have no sense of humor at all. Your subconscious and the universe, they don't have a sense of humor. Like, when you have talked to somebody who is so intelligent that they do not understand sarcasm, that is your subconscious and the universe. So what you're thinking and what you're feeling, the universe isn't going to look at you and be like, oh, babe, don't do that. Don't do that. Our guides will. Our guides 1,000% will. But the universe is going to be like, okay, well, here, fucking panic about bills. Okay, fine, fucking panic about. I don't care. Like, here you go. Like, they're so black and white. But the thing about the subconscious is that they have this, it's like your subconscious has these firewalls that you have built these foundations and these frequencies over your lifetime, even things that you did not build, but it's because you watched your parents be poor, or it's because you watched your sister always be in an abusive relationship, or like, here's these firewalls in your subconscious that you truly didn't even build, but your subconscious is thinking, this is how I keep you safe. This is what we're doing. And this is how we think and feel and all the things. So when you start manifesting something completely opposite of what you have been learning, or that you've learned and that you've been creating, your manifestation is sitting there and it's trying to penetrate your subconscious, but you have these firewalls that are like, oh, fuck you. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're not rich. You're not rich. You can't have a good relationship. You can't have, no, fuck you. Because these firewalls think that they're literally keeping you safe. And that's the part where, you know, the universal laws are really good to fucking know, because then you can actually know what's happening, when it's happening, and you don't get discouraged, you know, everything. But the most important thing is to realize you cannot just force through your subconscious. You can't. It's not going to work. You are going to get so discouraged, and you are going to literally get to the point that you're going to be like, fuck this. This is too hard. You know, like, it's bullshit. And there's ways to get around your subconscious, because there's always a way to get around a firewall. Always. There's always a back door. There's always a neural pathway that you can make. And I've taught people how to do like the decluttering process. And I've taught people this new method actually in one of my classes that I'm going to be re-releasing, like my money masterclass. I taught them the table method. And it's literally just asking yourself one question and letting it literally lead you down to the point of what was actually the fucking problem, but what was the emotion? Because the emotion is what's triggered in your subconscious. Just like when you have PTSD, you know, you could walk into a certain place and it be a completely, you know, new place. And all of a sudden you smell lavender. Well, lavender associates you with the trauma that you had. And then you're fucking freaking out and you don't know why. It's because your subconscious like hits those emotions, and you have to literally get down to the seat of the emotion of why you actually feel this way. And it's never that initial feeling ever. Like when my money stories would come up, I would be like, well, I'm just fucking broke and I'm terrified. Well, what are you really terrified of? And I broke it down to, I was actually embarrassed because growing up, my mom worked her ass off while my dad was a drug addict and alcoholic and just took all the money. And it was embarrassing because like I'd have people come over and I'd be like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be in this house for very much longer. Or, oh my God, I have like the same clothes on. Or, you know, it was just embarrassment that actually made it to where it was a panic. So it was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So there's that whole thing that no one ever wants to talk about. And then the people that do talk about it, you know, because there is a huge community that does talk about, you know, like your subconscious is the most important piece here. People don't want to do it. People don't want to.
But it's complicated, isn't it? I mean, if it's your subconscious, and for someone like me, and maybe you have this too, because we both have a lot of air in our charts, right? So airy people tend to think a lot. And so you're constantly second guessing every emotion, or it's just, some days for me, it's a constant checking of those thoughts that just automatically pop up. Right. So do you have like a manifestation, kill your subconscious thoughts boot camp where you just get it done?
Kinda, because the thing is that people also, even stemming from The Secret, they're always like, you have to think positive and be positive to have a positive thing. The thing is that when those emotions and those thoughts come up, it's because there's a trail of those emotions and thoughts that you still have not actually dealt with. So it's just that same thing of like asking a certain question to be able to get down to that whole, like, where the fuck is this thought coming from? Like, what is this thought teaching me? Why is this thought continuously coming to me? What is this? What is that? But it's interesting because and it's funny because like I'm listening to your guides and they're just saying, you don't honor your thoughts enough. You try to shove them away. Like, nope, don't want to think about it. Don't want to think about it. You have to honor them. Like, you have to honor those thoughts. So if you have a continuous, even if it feels counterintuitive of what you're trying to do, that thought's trying to bubble up again for you to be able to elevate to that next level, to elevate to that new thing that you're trying to get to that new vibration, or even just being free of whatever that thought is. Because it's just, you almost have to just sit in your shit. Like, you just have to sit in that thought and be like, okay, why are you back? What's going on? What are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to teach me? And who is actually making this thought happen? Because that's something too that your guides are saying, is that sometimes the little Ann in you is the one that's yelling these thoughts to you, of being like, hello. And then you aren't associating it all the way back to little Ann. You're just associating it to like, no, fuck that, not doing it. Nope, good. Thanks. Like, I'm going to do something else.
I have time for that, you know?
I'm pretty busy. I'm pretty busy to sit here and listen to you. I'm good. And then, you know, here they are and they're just like, oh my goodness. But then they try and do it in different flavors too. Like, if there's something that they're trying to tell you, they're going to do it in all different flavors. But that's what your guides are saying, is just like, you don't honor it long enough for it to dissipate.
Wow.
So that's what you have to do, is just shine the light. Like, give it the floor, give it the stage. Be like, all right, you know what? You're fucking annoying me. Like, what do you need? Tell me, show me, be what you need to be, make me feel what I need to feel, like, make me think how I need to think. Because the thing is that when these things, especially for you, Anne, that come up, they're so disaligned with who you really are that you can literally see it from a different perspective, as if it's not happening to you. It's literally just happening for you. Because if you really honor those thoughts that come up and you let them just penetrate everything that you need it to, you're going to be like, wow, this is really not who I am anymore. But like, where the fuck does it belong? And then here's little Anne like, me, it belongs here, please. Like, just bring it back to me, please. Or like, what is she trying to tell you that you need to do different? But like, just honor it. Just honor it. Because thoughts are always going to happen. And you're not wrong. I have so many fucking thoughts and 90% of them aren't even mine. But like when they are mine, wow, do I like to avoid them.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. That's fine. That's fine. But no, it's literally just honoring it and knowing that it's trying to do the better. It's trying to make it to where you are in that new version of you. Because it's that law of polarity. Like if you want to be a better person and you're trying to give yourself more self-care, all of a sudden your guides can make you sick. And it's just because like, oh, well, you wanted to be taking care of yourself. But here's the thing is that you haven't been taking care of yourself in these ways. So now you're going to be sick with this. And it's the same thing with thoughts. Like if we don't change that and our subconscious keeps firing those things off, it's just because we're trying to get past that firewall, but your spirit guides are trying to show you what you need to honor in order for that firewall to be bypassed.
Wow.
It's very fun. It's fun. It's great. It's emotional.
So I think I'm just going to simplify this for a brief second, but I mean, essentially to truly manifest, we need to rewire our brain so that we stop coming from a place of lack and move through all of those things so that we don't sit there with that mentality of lack existing in the background while we're trying to convince ourselves of something. You actually have to do the work to move through all of that to get to the other side. Something interesting that you said to me, because the timing of this is what's interesting. I have been reading a book called Free for Life by Christopher Lee Mayer. And he is an ex-SEAL, ex-Navy SEAL. And he's done all this stuff and his body was just breaking down, even though he was ridiculously fit and strong. And so the book talks about his journey, trying to come back to health and who he was. And you were talking before about the firewalls that exist within us that we don't even know are there because they come from who we were born to, the environment we grew up in, and we don't realize that conditioning and all of that exists. So he takes it a step further and says that 4 to 7 generations worth of trauma passes down through our DNA, and all of that programs how we think and what we do. And I actually just like an hour before we came on to do this show, I have been sent Christopher's number and I'm going to actually go and do some work with him because I've always done all this deep sort of work on myself, trying to be better. I'm forever reading, but I've hit that point where I'm sort of saying to myself, I'm ready to level up. I'm ready to go to that point. So I think at some point we'll get Christopher on the show, but I find it fascinating that for you with the manifestation, because there are so many manifestation coaches out there that go, this is what you need to do and you need to believe and you need to do this. And they use their own lives as examples of look at what I've created, but they don't get down to these deeper levels of the real work that you need to do.
Right. Right. And that's something that I've always tried to, I don't know, because I don't know how to not be me. Like I just am me. And I never have wanted to lie to anybody. And like, even when I've talked about my money stories, like I'm not going to lie to people. Like, yeah, I've been fucking broke. I've been to the point that I had no idea how I was going to do something. Like there's still times that like my guides shoot me back to that just to see like, are you really ready to level up? Because if you're still going to act like that person who's broke, we're not giving you any more than what you have because you won't utilize it the right way. And then that person in that new version of you doesn't do that. So it's something that I've always tried to do, even with my readings or the manifestation stuff, is just being very honest, because it's not fucking easy to have to go through your traumas and stuff. And I mean, this is something I tell people too, like you can't just do spiritual shit. Like you have to work on your ego too. And your ego is so important that if you need to do regular counseling, EMDR, like RRT, whatever you need to do for your ego to be also at peace while your spiritual side is doing this, like you have to do both. But no one ever likes to talk about that. They're like, well, I'm a multimillionaire and I used to be broke and now I drive, what are those fucking ugly things? I don't know, but I cannot stand them. They're so ugly, but they're like,
A
I don't know.
Cybertruck?
Yeah, a Cybertruck.
I think they're kind of ugly, but people like them.
Yeah, whatever. But like, you know, they're like, oh, well, I was broke, but now I'm, you know, doing this. And it's like, well, you sell the dream to people, but you're not showing them like, what was it that you did to get to that dream? Or how did you feel, or what did you do when you got that first huge chunk of money, or that first love, or that career, or, you know, like what was it? And people are just so in awe of that dream that was something too, the whole gatekeeping stuff, the psychic medium stuff. I've always wanted to be honest with the manifestation shit too. It's not, and I'll tell people like, this is not going to be fucking fun. Like, it's not going to be fun because I can see your traumas and I can see that. But if you need me, I'm here and we can do it together. Like, I've had people literally book their readings in conjunction of, you know, either us doing Reiki or us doing the decluttering or us doing, like, they want that help and that guidance. And it's like, okay, well, let's talk about the traumas that are coming up and like, let's see what's going on. And then they're also like, I've told many of my clients, like, I think it's time for you to now work on your ego. Like, let's seek out counseling. Let's do this. Like, maybe you talk to your doctor about being on antidepressants. Like, that stuff is not bad at all. And really, it's going to help in the end with manifestation anyways. Because if your ego is in constant fucking hyper psychotic like feelings of being like, holy shit, but you're trying to manifest, that's not going to make any sense. So like, you have to do both. You do. And that subconscious is the great thing. It's a great thing, just storing all our fun shit back there. Yeah, but it definitely is very important. Very, very important. But that's cool that you're doing that, by the way, Natalie. That's going to be badass.
I'm really excited to go on this journey because I know several people that have worked with Christopher and they all rave about him. And I don't know, when I first heard about him, I was looking forward to meeting him, which I thought would be a social thing. And then just the stars haven't aligned. And something clicked a couple of months ago. And you know, when you just have that moment where you go, right, I'm ready. And now I can't wait to dive in and go deep. And I think it's when you've started doing that work and you alter how you think and function in this world, it becomes addictive. Because when you're freeing yourself of that baggage and you can see the good things that come from that, you feel so much lighter and it's so much easier to maneuver, as you said before, the 3D world.
Yeah.
Because you're able to observe it rather than have it completely absorb you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the, I don't know if this is a manifestation thing, and you can tell me, one of the exercises that you had me do after our first reading, and I still do this and I do different iterations of it, is you said to me, you've got to write down everything you do in a day. And you said, if you can break it down to minutes, do that. And then you've got to think about the life that you want to lead. And then you write another plan for what the ideal life would be. And you break it down again, if you can, into minutes, and it's got to be detailed and what have you. And that's how you shift your life. And it is one of the most helpful exercises, because I find when I do things like that, I start to make changes, but there are always moments where life becomes too much and things get hectic and crazy. And so you kind of lose yourself and you lose your rhythm. And I'm saying this as somebody who doesn't have a standard schedule that life runs to. I just don't. Everything's all over the place. So with it always shifting, it is easy when things get out of balance and work is so crazy that I can't go for my walk every day, or I can't do yoga, or I can't get the reading that I want done. And that has been one of the greatest tools for me, because whenever I feel myself starting to spin, I sit down and we do it again. And it's very interesting because I keep it all in a notebook so I can go back and compare and see where I was, where I wanted to be, where I've then gotten to, and moving forward. Is that one of your manifestation tools, or is that just something completely different?
No, it definitely is, because the thing that gets really confusing, and it was again a personal thing that I learned, and I was like, I'm gonna try this. This is gonna be something I have to try. And it was interesting because when things just feel like you are wanting something different, and like how you just said, like, I'm ready for fucking change, I'm ready to level up, but then people are like, well, how the fuck do I do that? Like, there's so many things that I want, there's so many things that I could have, there's this endless possibility of what I need. It's way easier for people to break it down in a personal sense, because if you think about all the things that you're wanting in your life, you can almost see it in a different perspective than other than your own. And that's something with manifestation, is you have to see it from your eyes. Like, you have to, or you watch yourself from an outside perspective and you see yourself living it. But a lot of times it's just, there's so much that when you condense it down and you're like, okay, what do I do in a typical fucking day? Like, what is my typical day from me waking up to me going to bed? And then you look at it and you're just like, damn, I'm really not doing anything that I want or need. Like, I really am not. Like, I'm just autopilot. So then that exercise, and I think I told you this, like, when you first write your day down of your typical day, and the day of the life is you kind of just look at it and you're like, wow, this is kind of sad. Like, I really don't do a lot. Like, I really am not doing much. And then when you go to the next level of being like, what does the next level me do in a day? You could write like 8 fucking pages and you're like, how is this going to fit all in a goddamn day? Like, this is crazy. But you start to see where, like, you're in autopilot. And then also, what are the things that you're wanting? And when I say, what is the next level you look like in a day, it's a lot easier to condense down your career, your love life, and your money and your personal in a typical, like, next level day. Because if I were to look at you and be like, well, write down your dream life, that would overwhelm the fuck out of me. And I'd be like, excuse me, what? That's a lot. Like, I have a lot in my dream life that I want. But if you break it down the way that it's, well, what do you do in a day? And it's so nice because then you put them together and you're like, okay, so in my typical day, I wake up at 8. But in my next level me day, I wake up at 5 and I do yoga, or I do my journaling, or I do my meditation. You start to pick from that list, what can you change right now? What can you do tomorrow? What could you start doing? And I'm not saying like you wake up at 8 and now you need to wake up at 5, but wake up at 7:30. And then, next week, wake up at 7 and start going to get to that 5 and start implementing these things. And something that I don't know if I told you this, but in this next level you, when you're doing this next level you exercise, which it's funny because I actually call it the Gemini, because it's literally twins. Like, you literally have you and then you have your next level you. So we have to combine these two. When you're doing this, people forget that you look different in that next level you, whether it's weight loss, whether it's your hair, whether it's the way you dress. So like me right now, just a typical thing, like I am in a hoodie and I'm in leggings. Like, that's just me. But my next level me, if I were to do that, I could be sitting in fucking, I don't know if they do this, but like Tom Ford pajamas or Chanel pajamas, but people don't pay attention to the fact that they look different in that next level you. And that's one of the easiest things to change. And I'm not telling people like, oh, if you want to dress in designer clothes, go buy, designer clothes and get yourself broke. It's more of like, go to a boutique or a thrift shop and recreate an outfit that makes you feel like you're in those designer clothes, and start strutting around like you're in those designer clothes while you're starting to implement other little things from that next level list. Because as you're doing that, you're sending that signal to the universe, like, I'm ready to up level. I'm ready to be in this timeline. And then everything else falls into place. Like, all the universal laws start to come in. And then obviously the firewall stuff will start to come in. Of a lot of times it's worthiness. It's worthiness. Like, am I really worthy of living that next level life? Because, well, that's selfish if I want to go on vacation 3 times a year because other people don't. Or, oh, well, it's not okay for me to want to spend $150 on a pair of shoes because I could put it towards a credit card. That's the firewall that you're fighting against. And it's not even your story 99% of the time. It's like, well, where did you learn that story? Who told you that? Well, I watched my mom literally suffer from credit card debt. So I just know that if I don't want to suffer in credit card debt, so I should put that towards that. Like, no. Like, don't go into debt, obviously, and don't be out here but like filing bankruptcy, but like chase those firewall stories down and be like, oh, that's why. But yeah, it's a manifestation process that I do. And I think it's in like 2 of my classes, like my 5-week manifestation course. And I didn't do it in my money master class, but yeah, it's something that I don't know. It's helped so many people because you just get to see it. And you're like, wow, I'm really not fucking doing shit that I really want to do. And that's another thing too. It just shows you like you're doing that whole like sitting on the couch wanting to lose weight, eating ho-hos and bonbons. You're not doing what you should be doing because the law of action isn't implemented either. So it's fun to just kind of be like, oh, this is why it's not happening. It's because I'm not doing anything. This is fair. Yeah.
I think that's earlier you talked about people coming to you and wanting the psychic reading, and then the manifestation advice sort of came up, and some people kind of fight back, right? You had the guy who wanted to schedule an appointment just to fight with you.
Yeah.
And that, first of all, that takes so much effort. Think about, he could be applying that so many other ways.
Oh, so many.
But secondly, I think we're also conditioned by, Hocus Pocus or whatever movie where we all want to learn to do magic like Harry Potter, as I'm looking at my Harry Potter wands over on the other side of the room. But we just want to learn that magic, which probably takes a lot longer to learn too.
Yeah.
We want it but I guess, people talk about instant manifestation. So what do you think about that?
Well, and I tell people, like, there's so many things that you can instantly manifest because you believe that it can be instantly manifested. Like, it's when we put stock in money is always such an easy thing to talk about. So like manifesting $5 seems really, really obtainable to so many people. Like, oh yeah, I could fucking do that. That's fine. It's $5. But if I looked at them and I'm like, manifest 50,000, it's like almost like a gut punch of like, oh, I can't. And it's just because of, one, you feel like you don't have evidence, and we're such evidence beings that if like, oh, well, if I've never seen it in my lifetime, it's not real. Like we're such evidence gatherers as just humans that you immediately think that that's not possible. And then you start thinking of the story of like, well, if I want $50,000, I'm gonna have to fucking work harder for that. And then if I have to work harder, that means I have to get another job. And then if I have to get another job, I'm not going to have time for my family. So we start to do that whole 3D thing, and we start to act like it's not easily, instantaneously something that can happen. And the thing is that it can happen instantaneously. You have no fucking idea how something can happen. And, I was actually telling my money masterclass this, is when you can feel in alignment with something that can instantaneously happen, then you're already beating 99% of the society, because you already know what it feels like for something to instantly happen. Either it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. If you have the evidence that something has actually happened instantaneously after you thought about it, even if it's like, I wonder when Anne's going to call me, and then all of a sudden you look over and you're calling. That right there is you're instantaneously manifesting something, and you saw it happening, you felt it happening. Same thing. It's the same thing. But yeah, you can definitely instantly manifest something. It's just whether or not you believe what it is too big. And that's just a belief. That's all it is.
I will say there was one day I instantly manifested money. I remember I was so busy. I had so many modeling jobs that I was going from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the point that by the end of the day, I'm saying to them, if I'm a few minutes late, I'm so sorry. I've just been held up at the previous job. And I had just moved house. I was looking at moving over here to the US, and I was like, life is good. I've got everything I need, and I've got money, and I've got this, and I've got that. And as I pulled into my car spot in my building, because the Australian money is all colored, I see this green thing right in front of where my car was. And I'm like, stop it. Get out. There's $100 bill just sitting there. Nobody around. And I was on the phone to someone, And I said, I just found $100. They went, you did not. And I still have the photo of me with my $100 going,
I did.
and I had spent the day going, this is a great week. Because when you're working in entertainment, you have moments where there's a lot of money coming in and then it stops for 2 or 3 months because it's either end of year or end of financial year. And so everyone's focused on budgets. And so it's absolutely possible. And whenever I think back to that, it's all about the state of mind that I was in. But my favorite, I'm going to tell a tiny little story because I want your opinion on this theory. So whenever I talk about manifestation, and I am by no means a coach or anywhere near that, but when I talk to people about manifesting, I always say you have to manifest it, but you can't be emotionally attached to the outcome. You have to be able to let it go. And the best story that I've ever heard was the woman who actually was my therapist for many years. She and her daughter, she was a single mom. She'd been raising her daughter. Her daughter was now an adult, but they were living together. And it was quite a large payment to be able to save the house. And this woman went everywhere. The business was in trouble. She couldn't get a business loan, couldn't get another housing loan, couldn't get an extension on her credit card. She went everywhere you could possibly imagine to try and find this money. Could not do it. And she said the very last appointment she went to, she walked out and the bank or whoever she was meeting with said, absolutely not. We're not helping you. And she said, I walked out of that building and she said, I looked at the sky and I just said to the universe, you know what? Take the house. I will be okay. Take the house. And that's just it. She goes home. Her daughter calls her and said, Mum, you're not going to believe it. We just won Tats Lotto. And she said, what? She goes, how much did we win? They won the exact amount to the dollar that was owed on the house. She still owned that house when she passed. So, but she said it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen until that moment where she just went, I'm done.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, happens. And to me, the manifestation was, I want to save this house. This is my home and I will do anything I can to do it. She put in the work. It got to a point where it wasn't going to happen. And rather than go into a panic and chasing her tail or trying to create something that didn't exist, she let it go. And the universe went, okay.
Thank you. Thank you for getting out of my way. Yeah. No, it happens like that all the time. And there's so many stories like that. And it's pretty incredible because you're not supposed to work hard when you manifest. And that's what's so confusing to all of us, is because we've been conditioned, whether it's by our family or just like society, you have to work really hard to get your money. And that's bullshit. You have to work really hard to do this. You have to work really hard. And like, no. Manifestation, if you really think about it, the universe is like your sugar daddy. And when us little sugar babies are like, I want this, we're not going to like, I want this specific purse, or I want this money, or I want this, or I want that. We don't ask our sugar daddy, like, well, how are you going to do that? Are you going to take the money out of this account and then go to this place and then write a check? Or are you going to do this? Or are you going to do that? No, we just are like, I want this. You need to bring it to me. Thank you. And that's how it works. It's just that weird detachment, but we always have to, like, we're always sitting there being like, we have to know how, because if I tell a client or somebody like, manifest your fucking dream person, like, let's really break it down. Like, who the fuck do you even want to be with? They're like, well, how am I going to meet them? What's going to happen? How am I going to do this? Like, I don't fucking know. You shouldn't either. Even though like their guides tell me. I'm like, well, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but just know that this is going to happen. But it's fun for the universe to not have to be constricted by one only way. Because like when you were telling that story, her spirit guides were trying to stop her every fucking which way of being like, will you please stop trying? You're getting told no, just stop. And then when she finally was just like, fuck it, take it, I don't care, whatever. Then the universe is like, oh my gosh, thank you. Because I was just trying to get this to you. It's very interesting how when you really are in your feminine energy, your divine feminine, because that's really what it is. It's your divine feminine energy of just being like, whatever. I know it's going to happen. Fuck it. Whatever. I'm just going to go over here and do what I want to do and la-di-da. it's our masculine energy that gets way too much in the way, because our masculine energy is build, ambitious, aggressive, out there doing the fucking most, like trying to do like, that's our masculine. But our masculine isn't the energy that we need to be in when we're receiving our manifestations. So that I call it the fuck it moment. Like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
It's also in those fuck it moments when we're waiting for somebody to call, an ex-boyfriend or somebody. And the moment we go, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm not going to wait. The phone lights right up. It's like they feel it energetically and go, oh, she's going to move on from me.
Yeah, like, excuse me, do you want to come back to my toxicity? Like, are you there?
And how many times have we all gone, yes, please?
Yeah. And then we're back in the same position. We're like, wow, this was stupid. Like, it's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah. It's a lot of unwinding and unlearning manifestation. It really is. You can't just think and feel your way into anything. Like, you can if you believe that thing that you're thinking and feeling is this big. But when you think and feel something that's way bigger than what you feel like you've ever had, it's a lot of unwinding and unlearning that, like, and I tell people this, you don't have to work hard to get what you want. You really don't. You really fucking don't. And it's such an unhinged concept of being like, but I'm just going to sit there and just everything's going to happen. Like, no, not in that sense. But like, if you play your cards right and really know what you're doing, it's easy. It's almost scary how easy it can be. Because then you're just like, holy shit. And then you start fucking things up because you get scared and then it's fine. And then the universe is like, oh, and then your guys are like, oh, my Lanta, we're back at square one again. Like, but it's crazy. It's super crazy.
So Anne and I like to wind up every episode by asking people the same 4 questions, because I think this is a great way to get to know the people that are kind enough to give us their time. So question number 1, what makes you laugh?
Oh man, that's so much. Like, so much makes me laugh. My wife makes me laugh all the time because she's just goofy. Like, she's off the fucking wall goofy. Like, you're not ever expecting it. And then you could just be like in this normal conversation and then she just says something off the wall and then you're just like, I can't stop laughing. Like, this is ridiculous. And my kids, they're super funny. And I don't know, just so much, like, just so many things. I try to find laughter in a lot because I can be very, like, I don't know, neutral a lot of the time. So I try to find laughter in a lot of things. But my wife is definitely one of those people that you're just like, what the fuck? Like, what did you just say? And then she's just like, ha ha, like, just laughing herself. So my wife.
Well, that helps to keep life happy and interesting, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm pretty sure, like, I don't even know how really old we are. Like, I'm pretty sure we're still like 16. Like, I don't know how people let me walk around Earth like having these responsibilities, because I feel like I'm literally only 18. And I don't know if you ever feel like you're grown up. I just don't know. But yeah, it does. It keeps life very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So who was your biggest spiritual influence?
Ooh, let's see. My mom for sure. And then this is so crazy because I actually ended up having a interesting experience, but like Teresa Caputo used to be somebody that I aspired to be. But honestly, a lot of it was my mom. And then it became myself, because I look at myself as a project, because I still do have to unwind a lot of my ego. And then it's just fun to see where I've been and where I am. But definitely the first person that pops in my head is my mom, just because she just never gave any boundaries and she was very open to it and very just it is what it is. And even when people would fight against it, like my grandma, who was not good with that, my mom would be like, whatever, your grandma's crazy. She wasn't. She was just,
And what would your advice be to people on how to transcend fear?
Honestly, sit with it. Like literally ask the fear what it's even trying to, like, what is it trying to show you? And a lot of times what it's trying to show you is such an old story, an old situation, that if you really honor the beast of fear and you sit with it and you ask it and you talk to it and you let it bubble up, you freak out, like you're in a safe space of just, okay, what is this really doing? What am I fearful of? It's crazy to see where it actually ends up, because it's not anything that really ever is current. Like the fear of, the fear that got triggered, like whatever triggered the fear is obviously current, but like, what is it really trying to teach you? And a lot of times it's just trying to tell you like, oh, we just need to stay safe, even though what we know to stay safe is not working for us. Let's just stay safe. So just really honoring it, really just sitting with it, stewing in it, but in a safe space, because I know sometimes like, and I've been through it too. Like my mental health has been something that I've had to work on for a really long time, that I couldn't sometimes just sit in my fear. I would need a professional to help me with it. Whether that professional was a shaman or a counselor or something. Like I've always sought help when I've had to do that, or even just my wife. Like just having this safe space of being able to honor it. So like, don't just sit there by yourself if it's going to make it worse.
Right. That was really great spiritual advice. But now, what's the best piece of spiritual advice that you've been given?
Honestly, it was, and I call it now a thoughtless thought. The best spiritual advice that I was given is, if you have to think about the answer, your ego is talking to you. But if you just have that answer pop into your head, seemingly at random, in the middle of asking something, that is really a download. And it wasn't explained to me like that, but over the years, I've got it down to that science of downloads are thoughtless thoughts. Your ego has to think. Like your spiritual side does not think, it just implants. Like your ego has to think. That was like the best spiritual advice, because sometimes I would be in this dynamic when I was doing my readings, like how the fuck do I know when I'm switching back and forth from my psychic side to my ego? Because if I talk to people in ego and I'm like, oh, this, that, da, 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 people would be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But then if I switch into my psychic and I'm just getting flow state, they're like, oh yeah, yep. So it was very interesting that when I came to that crossroads of having that person tell me that, I've held on to it forever. And now I teach it to people, because it's such a simple thing, but it's so profound when you're trying to build your gifts and just really trust your intuition.
Well, this has been so much fun, Season. We are so grateful that you had the time to join us for today's conversation. I know the chat has been loving it, because it's been popping off the entire time we've been talking. I will attach all of your info and links below in the comment section. So for anyone that wants to book a reading, look at Season's manifestation courses, all of that information will be below. So just click on that. And if you're not already following her on social media, even though she'll come in and out and disappear on us, that'll all be there. So Season, thank you so much. And thank you as always for doing this with me each and every episode.
Thank you. So, I take it we're leaving, and I was just not even ready. So I'm sorry.
It's like, I'm not done. I want to stay. Thank you.
Yes, we're still here, everybody. But really, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I'm very appreciative of being on here with you guys. It was a lot of fun. And just being able to go with the flow of things and not having an agenda, because like you said, Natalie, you can't have one with me because it will just go off the rails.
And I with you, because the conversation is always so easy and it just flows, I didn't want to put us in a box where we were constantly trying to get back to a place. It's like, we'll have the discussion we're meant to have. And if there's more that we need to talk about, we'll come back in a month or two and we'll do it again.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I would love that. I would. And something about my social media that everyone needs to know is there's thousands of fake profiles of me.
Yes.
I will
attach the real ones.
Yeah, the real ones will be there. But if I end up following somebody back, because I do that, I try to follow people back. there will be thousands of fake profiles trying to get money from you, and I will never ask you to get a reading done by me. I will just tell you what I need to tell you. I will never goat you into like, come here. So just forewarning to everybody who wants to follow me, there's thousands of fake profiles, and it's fantastic.
The first fake one that followed me, I was like, oh, she's followed me back. And then I looked, I was like, no, she did not.
Why did you misspell her name?
I know, like, why is she talking so weird? Like, this isn't season. Yeah. And it's so funny because I try to tell people that, like, literally, they know. They're like, got a fake see. I'm like, you know, they don't even like drop the F-bomb. Like, try and be fucking authentic, guys. Like, try to mimic me, like, you idiots. But they've gotten to the point that I've had, and I still have this poor woman's voicemail. She got contacted by a fake profile on me that they told her that they were going to come and kill her family if she didn't send payment to them.
Wow. And
I was like, you need to call your local police. You need to call the authorities. Like, this is not okay at all. But they get so aggressive.
I report every single one.
Yeah, it's crazy. But they've actually contacted me to get a reading done by me. Yeah, I'm like, well, this is a weird fucking position to be in. I don't know if you know who you just talked to or you're talking to, but like, you're literally got my profile pic going on. Yeah, it's crazy. But that's why sometimes I don't follow people, because if I follow somebody, they're literally in a line of target. So there was actually a client that asked me a couple of weeks ago, like, why do you not follow a lot of people? And that's why. Because if I follow you, you're going to be subject to thousands of fucking fake profiles. It's great. Yeah, Natalie will. Yeah, Miss Popular over here. That people are fucking crazy with my pictures and stuff. But yeah, so you'll post the real ones, and if I follow you back, I apologize in advance that there will be many a people trying to contact you acting like they're me. Yes, this has been great, and I appreciate you guys inviting me on here. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks.
We appreciate you.
Yes. And you guys have a fantastic night. I didn't realize how dark it got in my house, and I'm just sitting in the dark, and it's fine.
It's that time change, right?
I hate it.
Same.
It's not fun. It's not at all. Well, perfect. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yeah.